Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Alisa Rich. I am with the University of North Texas Health Science Center in Fort Worth. Many people call it the medical campus of Denton. And I hope you guys are appreciating this talk today because I am loving this. Looking at the different perspectives on a subject to me is so key, and I have learned so much already from listening to my fellow presenters. One of the areas that I am coming from, which I think we can appreciate from Dr. Milani's talk, is from environmental and occupational health. And I will apologize a little bit. We've had this lovely virus going around our medical campus, so every now and then I may have to cough to clear my throat. But today what I'm going to be speaking about, is a study that came from the Cook's Children's Hospital in Fort Worth that asthma affects nearly 19% of children in our area. That equates to 7.5 million days missed yearly due to bad health. Now that's a very profound statement right there, and as we looked at it, I said, well, yes, because asthma has many aspects of it. Maybe it is not a true diagnosed asthma, but possibly you'll look at some of the respiratory issues with it. And epidemiological studies have shown that 78% of patients with asthma have nasal symptoms, that rhinitis is literally a universal phenomenon, but they are not the only ones, as you hear me a little froggy today, with the same situation. We have in our area high levels of sinusitis, we have allergic rhinitis, and we have our seasonal whatever that blows up from another place, mountain cedar. That can all cause problems. So as we look at it, we have what we call particulates in the air, or particles of pollen, of animal dander, of mold, of bacteria, of dust mite debris that may cause an allergic reaction. And that allergic reaction could be anything from watery eyes, a runny nose, or itchy throat, and it can also cause wheezing and coughing. So these are common symptoms that you might see in musicians as time goes on, but we see that in the regular people as well. So what the body does is basically tries to combat an allergen in the respiratory system by having a mucus form in your body. Over time, we have the thickening of the wall of the airways. This is something that every musical vocalist hates to have happen, and over time it can become a chronic condition. So what we did was we looked at a study, again from Cook's, and we said, hold on a minute. This condition not just affects a musical performance or possibly a sports performance, but they actually had data to show that it affected academic performance. So what we decided to do was, thank you for Mr. Harris for allowing us to come into your department and to the superintendent of Denton ISD for allowing us to come in, but we wanted to look at the students and see what the students are doing in the music area and see what their response was. So my talk technically is called Music and Medicine, but we could call it Music, Medicine, and Mold, as you will see. So Mr. Harris was, I love calling him Mr. Harris. Actually, I prefer calling him Director Harris because we had so much fun at McMath Middle School. It was a blast to work with the kids and to work with him and his associate. We had so much enthusiasm in the room, it was literally infectious. So we also had Mr. David Saul, who, by the way, is a master's student here, but not only that, soon to be, hopefully, a physician in the future. Assisted us in some of the microbial experiments. So what we did was we tested 4 different instruments. First of all, we had a 1982 Bach, see if I get correct at this, 42B trombone. We had a 1930 King cornet. We had a brand new Yamaha Zeno trombone, thank you. And we also had a 1989 Bach 12, trombone as well, which we have here today. We tested all those, and basically what we did was we swabbed them, put the swabs on Petri dishes, and then I returned them to Dr. Semecki's lab at the University of North Texas, Fort Worth, for incubation. Now, many people say, as you have heard today, that the left brain people are rather stoic. Those are our science people. I could be considered that. Although I did say there was a slight choke in my throat when Lauren was speaking. So we're the more pragmatic of the group, possibly. The right brain are the creative, the emotional, the passionate, that us scientific people don't really understand too well. But in actuality, that's not true, because we find, like Dr. Survey, he's been a musician for years, for decades. And in actuality, that early development of the left brain develops a right brain mentality very, very strong as well. Possibly it could be the discipline learned early in life. So what we did was basically, here's our infectious, enthusiastic group. We basically took the students in and had them partner with us on doing an experiment, and they were incredibly enthusiastic, and they did a fantastic job. We taught them how to don the proper protective gear, which would be our gloves, and how to test the insides of the instruments, the proper technique using the wands, using the cotton swabs, and the application on the Petri dishes. We tested the interior of the instrument intentionally because oftentimes the mouthpiece will be cleaned better and more frequently than the interior of the instrument. So we really wanted to look at what possibly would go on the interior of the instrument, as we demonstrate here. So this is our first day one, as we call it, day one of incubation, where I was returning the plates to the laboratory, and as you can see, they look glossy. There's really nothing going on. You might see just a tad bit of moisture here on this one. That's typical because this is an agar plate and it does have moisture to it. That does not indicate any growth. And this is the Dr. Semecki's laboratory. This is Mr. Mark Poole that helped us with the incubation. He's the assistant director of the laboratory. This is our incubator here, and that's where the plates stayed for several days. 3 days later, let's see what they look like. So on day 3, on the left-hand side, we have the 1982 trombone, and you see here just a little speck or two of mold. We do duplicates of all plates because we want to make sure that we have done it correctly. So that's why we have a plate A and a plate B. In the 1930 King Cornet, we have staph as well as indication of mold. Day 3, the new trombone, fresh out of plastic, has mold, but it also has just a touch of staph, as you see here. And the 1989 trombone, which Mr. Harris is laughing over here because he did not clean it for 3 months intentionally, 3 months intentionally so that we could test it, actually was covered in mold. This whole plate is covered in mold. Day 5, we had 1982 again. We had colonization of the staph. Here's the larger section of the mold. The 1930 cornet was not as bad as I thought it would be, but we actually had, again, the mold. We had some mycotoxins show up. They were slightly more yellow, and then the staph. Mycotoxin is a metabolite, basically, a product of mold. Day 5, the brand new trombone, as you can see, has quite a bit of mold here, as well as mycotoxin and staph. And the 1989 trombone, again, was highly molded. And again, the purpose of this mold comment is that it probably outcompeted the other products, the other staphylococcus. So what health effects can we possibly have? Well, with a mold, you're going to have stuffiness, throat or eye irritation, coughing, wheezing. With a staphylococcus, you're going to have more infection, possibly redness, swelling, pain at the site of infection, as well as pus. And with a mycotoxin, which is the mold product, you're going to have an allergic reaction, inflammation of the upper and lower respiratory tract. Weakening of the immune system even can occur. So I was so thrilled at the enthusiasm of this group. And it proved the fact that we don't want to just consider left brain, right brain, but we want to consider the whole brain. And in doing that, that is what we've looked at here. We've looked at this subject from multiple different perspectives, and it's been fabulously effective at learning. So what did we learn here? Well, we learned several things. We do have enthusiastic scientists as musicians. Thank you very much. We also have enthusiastic musicians as scientists, both backwards and forwards. The instruction and developing of good instrument and hygiene care is really, really critical, particularly early on, because parents cannot be expected to either know the instrument or know the cleanliness of the instrument or how to maintain that instrument. Yes, they are expected along the way to teach the children proper hygiene, and as we all know, being a parent, rather complex lesson at times to do. And the other thing is, especially allergens can come from multiple sources. So it's not just the internal of the instrument, but it's also what are you doing in the meantime. So I wanted to thank you very much for allowing me to come up and give this talk. Spasibo, danke, grazie, grazie, grazie. And I wanted to especially thank Dr. Chesky, Dr. Survey for the opportunity and for the development of this Texas Center for Performing Arts Health. He could have done a shorter name. Man, that's a tough one. And Mr. Harris, Director Harris as well. He was absolutely wonderful to work with. But I also want to compliment and thank the students and the parents of the students at McMath Middle School.
I love that. Thank you. How about it for Dr. Rich? Isn't she great? Yeah. She'll be here all week. Try the veal. If you hadn't figured it out, we teach middle school, and we're completely cool with the vernacular. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, and I can flip the bottle and the whole bit. I am Travis Harris. I'm the head band director and fine arts department chair at McMath Middle School. This is my associate director, Kelsey Gaskell. We're very, very happy to be here today and to be a part of this groundbreaking discoveries and experiments that you're doing here. We're going to see if we can add a little bit of practicality to it, the way that we incorporate things in the band hall at the middle school level. First, we'd like to thank Mr. McCullough. He is our fine arts supervisor in Denton ISD. My building boss, Dr. Nobles, for making us available to getting all this done. And Ann McMillan and Justin Cooper, correct, Justin? Yeah, for letting us use your facilities there at UNT. We're going to show you how we deal with cleaning instruments and that sort of thing on a daily basis. And I'm going to talk to you just like I talk to my kids or my band parents or my administrators at school. It's going to be very, very practical. But we would like to go ahead and start. We went, the thing at school, you saw we did just brass instruments, and we didn't get to do woodwinds. So my woodwind specialist, Ms. Gaskell, is going to start and show you some woodwind techniques. This is Kelsey Gaskell.
I don't know if we can hop forward to the slides for me. There we go. Okay. So basically, I just spoke about, or I talked to Dr. Chesky and wanted to tell you about what we do to upkeep woodwind instruments to prevent these kinds of things to be exposed to our students. We teach them from the very, very beginning, and I have a flute and a clarinet here. I was just going to show basic cleaning skills and how we teach our students, and we tell them, you know, we don't want them to grow science projects in their horns. So once they're finished playing, every sixth grader, we go through this. And we break apart their flutes. We'll start with this one. This is where their face actually comes in contact with the flute when they're playing. I'm going to put this here. I can speak better if I have it out of my hands. Okay, much better. So right here is where they actually come in contact with the flute. That's where you're actually going to have more contact with any germs or anything that might grow on those fabulous specimens they had. So the first thing we always encourage them to do is just wipe off any moisture here. And then, of course, we want to get the inside out because they're going to be packing it away in a case, which is where humidity can set in and everything. So we actually use these little tuning rods, and we put a silk swab on there, and this is a daily thing. When they're done, they just go in and they remove any moisture with all parts of the flute. That's pretty basic. You'll see slides in a little bit about how brass instruments, actually you can give them a bath. You can't do that for woodwind instruments, that would ruin them. So there's pads, wooden parts, all sorts, corks, things like that would just completely get ruined. So that's why we do that. And for a clarinet, which is my main instrument, for the sake of time, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main parts to it. At the end of the day, we have 45 minutes class. We teach bell to bell, so we encourage our students to, at the end of each class, just quickly swab at school. Just run this through. It's a weighted silk swab. Run it through from the bottom to the top. And then when they get home, when they're done swabbing, we encourage them to take it apart and actually swab each piece to make sure they get a better cleaning, but that's just to save some time. The other thing that we deal with whenever students get sick, if they ever get sick, we have this spray. You can see, Mighty Mist. I'm not endorsing, just what we have. And it's an alcohol spray. And we always have them, if they come to us saying, well, I've been sick, they've been out the last 3 days with strep or something. Okay, we're going to clean off the faceplate on the flute. Your mouthpiece, we're at least going to spray it down with this for clarinets or saxophones or any other reed instrument, or wash with warm soap and water. The fun part is they have reeds that they have to use too. And those kind of get expensive, especially for middle school parents, because they're very delicate. They break very easily, they chip. They're about, $35 a box, I think, for clarinet reeds right now. So a box of 10. So they don't like to throw those away. But if they've been sick, we say get the ones out and either throw them away, or we will have them at least spray it with the Mighty Mist. Middle school and the school we teach at, it's a hard thing to try and get them to go out and buy more reeds. So we just try and conserve the best we can. So that's kind of how we deal with woodwind instruments and keeping them clean and sanitary for them. And Mr. Harris, would you like to go on with brass?
Yeah. Thanks, Ms. Gaskell. Isn't she great? Man, I get to work with her every day. Which means she tells everybody I just wave my hands and take all the credit. She does everything else. Oh, okay. Just to put a little slightly different perspective on things, before I became a teacher, I was a professional musician for 18 years. I played all over the place, the Caribbean, Mexico, Canada, continental United States, Europe. So I bring that to the classroom as well. This is the horn that I do that on. I still play 2 or 3 nights a week in Dallas area and abroad. And that was one of the reasons that we tested this instrument in particular, because I probably do more playing in 1 week than a lot of students will do in a month. So it kind of adds a perspective to that for you. Clean instruments play better. That's just all there is to it. If it's cleaner, it's going to play better. It helps with tuning issues. It helps with just the mechanics of being able to differentiate notes. I've been a trombone player for 40 years. I don't know that I've ever been sick from playing a dirty trombone, but it sure sounds like a really good idea to clean it just in case. And that's what I tell my parents and my kids. Keep your instrument clean. It's going to work better, et cetera, et cetera. Everything I just went over with you. Now, we're going to look at these slides. Oh, it's got a pointer too, right? Oh, I think I took one of these up at lunch duty yesterday. Very cool. See that handsome guy there? That guy right there? That is my son. He is a 7th grade trombonist, so he went to UNT with us. I had the privilege of going there in pursuit of my master's degree in jazz studies, as a matter of fact. Go UNT. Anyway, we went over to Ann and Justin's shop. They have a shop there where they actually can, repair instruments, et cetera, et cetera. That's very unique to UNT. the things that we used there, is that on there? Okay. Is the soap on there? I can't see anything. Okay, so we use soap, just normal Dawn dishwashing detergent kind of stuff, because that cuts everything off. It's great. I love it. It's what I've used for years on my horn at home. And these are the things that can be done at home with the kids. I'm using my Bach 12 that was made for me in 1989. Dawn dishwashing detergent, slide snake, crook snake, mouthpiece brush, and a sinker tub. You can do this at your house. It's really that simple. The first thing we do is take it apart, and I think that is that one right there, and we put it down in the tub. And then we take our Dawn dishwashing liquid and throw in some water with it and take this off and the mouthpiece off and put that in there and let it soak for a minute. Water doesn't need to be hot, it just needs to be warm. Because if it gets too hot, then you start having issues with the metal protection, the lacquers. Let's see. And there we are taking it apart again. The first thing that I always do, and this is just normal maintenance, you can do this daily if you want or whatever. I take a water hose, take the slide apart, and shoot a water hose down through it. That cleans out the lead pipe, which is where most of the stuff gathers anyway, and that's where we swab the instruments. That's where most of the junk collects. So the instruments apart, we just hosed it out, and then this, you can see it right there, it's all apart, and it's easy, and I teach your kids how to do that in class, because instrument maintenance goes along with being able to play the instrument. You got to know how it works. You got to know how to maintain it. And then I start running the slide snake through all the portions, and that gets out all the little critters that may be in there. You know, had oatmeal for breakfast or Oreos for lunch. We want to get that out of there, because that's what we call bad. Very good. Junior high, work with me, come on. And then you can see we're doing our thing with the mouthpiece brush, cleaning it all out. And like we said a few minutes ago, I hadn't cleaned this horn. Actually, it was longer than that. My son informed me it was spring break. I usually clean in May. I clean twice a year, good solid cleaning. But I hose out and clean every time I relubricate the instrument anyway. But the solid cleaning is usually done twice a year. And also this method is what we do at the end of our school year anyway. We have the kiddie pools that we fill up outside the band hall, and us and the kids go outside in May and we clean horns. Now, places like the UNT Service Center, Brook Mays, Music and Arts, they also have these people on that repair instruments. They can also do chemical flushing, and I recommend that whenever is needed. But just for as normal parent and teacher maintenance, you can do it yourself. And it saves a lot of money for your school districts as well. And I know everybody's into budget, so we can add that money back to travel, right? And so anyway, we're cleaning the instrument there. And then when we get done with all the swabbing and soap, we rinse it back out. And then we rinse it down. There it is. Everything's all nice and clean. And then there's Kelsey again. All right. And then, but the basing cleaning process, break it down, hose it out, run a snake through it, put it back together, relubricate, and you're good to go. If I want to do this quickly, it can take me about 5 minutes. If I want to take my time like we did the other day and take pictures, it took, how long did it take, Chris? 10 minutes? About. It's not that big of a deal, but it can save in any number of different things that can come up. It helps with your school district's budget, your fine arts budget. It helps with mom and dad's pocketbook as well. So keep your horns clean and everything works better. So thank you very much for listening. We've enjoyed being here. Thank you for including McMath Middle School. Thank you.